Here we go. Hi, ladies, and welcome to Word of the Week. Tonight, I have with me in person a dear friend and encourager of mine, Teresa Kenner. So, Teresa, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I know that
thank you for asking me.
you've been not as your word is going to be struggle, but you've been trying to figure out what is exactly the word that you feel like the Lord's led you to talk about tonight. And so, I think you've kind of tied two together really well. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to hearing that. So can you tell everybody what is your word of the week?
It's struggle.
Struggle.
And, the meaning of struggle is to try very hard to do or achieve or deal with something that is difficult or may cause you a problem, or you have to move with difficulty or great effort. I figure, like, move with difficulty, I figure that's our health-wise. You know, I think a lot about my sister in that way. My sister Sherry, you know, she's struggling right now with health, you know, and I look at her and I see her struggling so much, and we struggle with her, but we're not in her body, but we see her struggling.
You struggle for her.
Yeah, and it's so hard to watch the struggles in life, but that's what it means to struggle in the dictionary. And then in the King James, the only thing I could come up with was great labor, forcible effort to obtain an object or avoid evil. So, and then the spiritual struggle, which is conflict over spiritual matters with God, within oneself. And then these conflicts generate distressing emotions and questions about one's spiritual journey in their life.
So as the old saying goes, the struggle is real.
The struggle is very real. Different people have different struggles. I think everybody struggles in something in their life.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can get by with it. It started with Adam and Eve. They struggled over, well, should I eat the apple or not? You know.
Yeah.
You know, and I think everybody in their own way they struggle.
Mm-hmm.
They might not see it as well as others. They might not get as down and depressed as others. I'm having a problem right now with my anxiety. I guess my most struggle right now, and I think I put it on a piece of paper you passed out, was losses. Mm-hmm. And I've had so many losses at the beginning of last year in 2020, and then even this year I lost a dear friend of mine back in September that I could always call on and talk to no matter what time of night or day, and I lost her, and I thought, you know, that was hard.
Yeah.
But nothing has been as hard. Even when I lost my mom and dad, I would say, you know, I expected that a little bit. But when we lost Tyler, that was my sister's son, my baby sister. When we lost him, that to me was the main. I can't get over. I've got so much emotion and so much anxiety. Sometimes I don't even feel like God's there with me. And so my struggle is trying to get back to where God wants me to be. And that's been very hard. I went to camp meeting all last week, and just like I told my pastor at the end of the week, I said, you know, I'm here in body. I felt like the messages were good. The singing was good. But my heart just wasn't receiving what I needed it to receive. And that is, to me, that's the flesh there, too. Because our flesh is weak.
Yes.
I think says here in Mark, flesh is weak. See, if we're left to, we inherit human nature. And the Bible commands us to hold close to God. I mean, He wants us to drain our strength from Him.
Yes.
And I'm struggling to do that right now. And it's just been a hard struggle for me. And that's why I chose that word, because it's just not been coming too easy here lately. And I've been reading in the Word and trying to get, you know, trying to get more into the Word and trying to get it that way, because that's the only way I know that's the only way I'm gonna get back to where I need to be, is get closer to God. And by getting closer to God, I'm gonna have to read, you're gonna have to dig. You're gonna have to find something that you're struggling with and just keep digging in this Bible, and just dig as deep as you can, and He'll get you through it. I can't say I'm through it yet. I can't go there yet, but I know I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
It's going to take me some time, but I'll get there. And
Teresa, I often have found that, and of course the loss of Tyler has been a struggle for me too. Starting back our youth program and being upstairs has just been very hard for all of us. Sometimes not understanding, and the struggle is the many questions I'm sure that we all ask in our mind, and trying to relive and understand things that we can't comprehend. But I will tell you, not with just Tyler, but with other areas in my life, and you probably can attest to this now, after he brings us through to the side. It's when we're able to look back that we see how strong he was for us through that time where we didn't maybe feel him sometimes or see him, but when we look back and we think, how did I even make it through what I did?
Yep.
And then you're able to look back and realize that firm hold he really did have on us, even though we feel like we can't feel him during that time. And I can understand where you're at too with this struggle of understanding, knowing your spirit wants to draw closer to him, and the flesh is fighting because there's so many other things on the outside. And
you got so many questions, the whys, the ifs, what if I did this, or what if I done that? Why didn't I see it coming?
Yes.
You got so many questions. You got anger. You're mad. You're, like I said, you're depressed. You're sad. You're, you got all these emotions in your body, and it's hard to.
And I feel like even guilt,
guilt.
Even to
That's
myself,
exactly right.
What could I have?
Yes.
What about thinking so
Yes.
much through my mind and trying to figure things out, and there are and they run like rapid. It's like there's not even a slow motion part of that. It's like they're all coming at you at one time.
Yes, and it is, and I can't even put myself in my sister's shoes, but and I wouldn't want to, but I know that her struggle is totally different than mine, and she's going to have to find hers just like I'm going to have to find mine, just like my brother and sister, just like you.
Yes.
Find it here without him here, and it's just different emotions go through your body, and you've got so many. Like I said, you got so many, you just don't know where to go, where to turn. But I know God is there with me, and like you said, I think back to the day that this happened, and I think, how did I get from point A to B, without His help? Because I don't even remember it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
It's
don't
a
even
blur.
remember.
It's just like
it's a blur.
Just like you.
And so, so you think, how in the world did I make it? But then you look back and you say, well, God had to be. He had to be there.
Yeah.
Even though it's just been a hard situation, and hard time in my life that I've never had to face anything like this. And but we'll get through it with God's help. I'll get through it. I'll see the light at the end of the tunnel, as they say. It might not be the same as I was before, and it may even be better.
Yeah.
Who knows what He's got if I just can get, And I thought I was working this on my own, and I talked to the pastor, and he said, Teresa, you can't do this on your own. You can't get to God on your own. You're going to have His help.
Yes.
You're going to have to ask Him to help you. And I have asked Him, but I don't think I've really asked Him, because I say, well,
Do you feel like sometimes that, like, being a strong Christian woman as you are for many years and enduring so much, that it's like, I shouldn't be feeling like this. I should know better. So the struggle is with yourself thinking, I don't need help because I have been doing this for years and I already have this relationship. So that struggle is, I feel like sometimes it's a part of us, for myself even, thinking, admitting that I'm weaker than I think that I am, that it's always been His strength, really, not mine.
Not mine.
And I feel like that's a struggle. There's so many struggles inside of struggle, I guess.
Yes.
And that's, I feel like, where I fell, or to realize that I'm strong because He's made me strong. But I'm really, really, really weak.
I'm really weak.
Yes.
And I found that out. And I know if Miss Emmy was here, she would have just the words just to tell me, and help me through these things, But yeah, I have been Christian for almost 40 years, and you think that, yeah, you're strong. You got this, whatever the Lord throws at you, you can come through it on the other side with His help. But then when something like this has happened, and then I say, that I am weak, and I even speak about that over in here. I am weak, and I guess where I feel like I failed is maybe I feel like I failed Him some way, and I failed God in the same way. I failed them both, and I guess that's what I'm struggling with. I failed Him, I failed Tyler. I feel like I failed him in some way. Maybe I should have seen something. Maybe he could have come to me and said something, and I didn't take it. I just didn't click. And then I failed God because I feel like I'm not turning to Him. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? Tyler couldn't turn to us, and I feel like I failed him in that way. But I failed God in that way because I wasn't turning to Him either.
I've tried to, and I've carried that same thing with me, with as close as Tyler and I were. He was my right arm. Every time my breath gets taken from me when I walk up those stairs, that I think He would want me to be doing this.
Yes.
And so that is
Yes.
keeping that torch lit. That is
Yes.
what's happening. Sometimes we have to focus during the struggle on trying to find that one thing just to help us take another step in front of the other.
Yep.
Because I cannot imagine.
No, and it is hard steps, but you'll get there. And but anyway, I was reading. I put this down where just as God allowed Paul to suffer to keep him from becoming conceited, and God allows us to suffer that we will realize we are actually more powerful with Christ when we accept our weaknesses.
Amen.
So when we accept what God, He's a sufficient grace in our lives, and we've got the faith. We just got to draw on that and remember that that's what we need to do when we're in the weakest moments. God is there no matter what. He's in there. He's been there. At my night, when I'm up at night by myself, He's there. I can talk to Him when I can't talk to nobody else. But that's what we need to focus on, that God, we need to trust Him through all this.
And I think the hardest thing about that is not trusting God, but to silence our mind enough to just stop and listen.
And listen.
That I feel like is the greatest challenge for me. Is like I know all of this. I've experienced things before, but when your mind won't rest, and for you to really draw
because your
from
mind's
that,
just going and going and going.
Yes.
And
then grief comes in, and then
grief,
guilt,
yes,
and then
yes.
anger and rage, all these things.
Yeah.
I've been even angry at COVID because of the separation from the youth group,
Yes.
and how that. I've thought of everything that I can imagine, but of course that isn't going to change things. But
No.
to understand, to try to get through.
And my anxiety, I've always had trouble with anxiety for the last 4 or 5 years, and I thought I had that, all right, but now, all this has brought that back. So, in 1 Peter 5:7, it says, cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. Well, that's true, and that's what I need to do. And I did that before, and I know I can get there again. But my anxiety is just peaked, and so it has brought out so many other emotions that, you just wouldn't imagine in this situation. Just like you say, my head has not quit spinning. It just won't. And I guess that's another thing you was talking about. Yeah, you need to stop and listen to God. Just stop and just listen. And so Friday night when I talked to our pastor, I was talking to him, and he almost said the exact same words. You got to stop and just, listen to what God has to tell you. And he said it ain't all about, you talking to Him all the time. It's not all about that. And he said sometimes you just got to stop and just listen to what He has to say. And it's like that still small voice that's going to speak to you and help you through these things that you're facing. And so that's what I've got to try to focus on too, to do that. And it's just been one thing after another, and I'm drawing strength from, just reading the Word, just getting some, getting into my Bible and getting the strength that God has in these words, that that we wouldn't think back in all these Old Testament era, but everything is there for a reason.
Yes.
And it does help us. And it's just sometimes you have to dig, and you have to dig hard sometimes and dig deeper.
And read
But-
and reread
and reread.
Yes.
Reread.
You know, sometimes I think when we're struggling too, it's just in talking about this Tyler circumstance, about you said that it's hard sometimes. That you really haven't feel like you've really let it go, and sometimes I feel like, because of some things I've endured, is that if I let it go, then I'm not going to carry the guilt, and then if I'm letting it go, am I letting them go? And it's like sometimes there is something about us, I feel like, that when we're carrying the guilt and all these other things that we're feeling, that those such raw feelings make us feel alive, or like that we're doing them justice because we're carrying something for them. But then if we let it go, are we letting them go or the idea go? And so for me, and dealing with some things with my grandmother, I lost in a car accident suddenly. There was so much that I carried that was just, when I look back now, I'm like, why didn't I let some of that stuff go? You know, but it's like, if I feel like I let that go, was I letting them down, or was I not?
Not going to be thinking of them
Exactly. And so
as much.
Yes, and it's almost like you become imprisoned in your own mind, or you're it's just it's incomprehensible what to do or how to feel.
That's good. Maybe you're helping me as me.
Well, maybe that's what this talks about. But that's things that I've had to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. We struggle through trials and pains, and whether we're rich or poor, it don't matter, you know, whether we want to or not. They come to us, and it's just like here I said, everything's going real good, you know. Then all of a sudden that knock comes.
Yeah.
And
you avoid opening the door as long as you can.
You do.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or answering the phone.
Yeah.
It seems like every time you answer the phone, might be something bad or something else bad's going to happen, and you just don't want to face it. And
It conditions us in a way, because, you know, with my older son and things that
Yes.
I've dealt with, when the phone rings, like, are you okay? First thing I want to say, are you okay? Or it's because I need to, you know, I'm like, what's wrong? And I thought about this yesterday, because this very thought happened to me, and I thought, now why am I thinking the very worst? Because somebody had messaged me and said, hey, I wanted to get this information from you about something, and I'm like, why, something wrong? Instead of thinking, you know, maybe they're wanting it and they did want it for a positive reason, but I'm trying to retrain my brain to say, why am I always trying to expect the worst?
And I do. I'm like that.
Because that whole feeling, before you even know what happened, has already taken
It's
control of your body.
Sometimes you even have them down the road in a bad wreck or whatever. And
I'm calling everybody, where
know,
you at?
yeah,
Where
yeah,
you at? Where you
yeah.
at?
You know, why have they called me? Why, you know, they should have called me by now or something, you know. But, and my mind does that.
And the enemy absolutely loves having that control. And it's such a way that he sneaks in. Like I was saying the other day, that God had told Cain that the enemy crouches at the door. I mean, he's waiting for just one moment.
One little.
Just to get some piece of
just
us.
Just a little crack.
And even though it lasts for a second, then you're like, then you think, why'd I do that for?
Yeah.
And then we do it over and over again. It's hard.
It is. It's hard. It's very hard. And, you know, I think he allows us to struggle sometimes to keep us more humbly dependent on him.
Yeah.
And I think it, and
you know, my word for the year was humility.
yes.
And so, and I was thinking, well, Lord, why are you giving me this word? It's going to be a year of complete humility. What am I going to endure? But what I found is that any time that we get that, at least a little bit of pride in ourselves or something, there'll be something to get us back to remember, okay, Lord, it is all you. It is about you. It's our story for your glory. And while it's still fresh now, there are going to be opportunities now that you have a badge of honor, that you're going to be able to sit here, talk to somebody someday and tell them how you got through and how your struggle, and then that's where our testimony comes from, to invest in others.
Yes, through our struggles.
Yes.
And through, if we was always up here,
Yeah.
and we never was down here, we would just go through life just peachy keen.
Yes.
And just, so, you know, sometimes I'm thankful for the struggles, not certain struggles, but sometimes I'm thankful for some getting me down here sometimes, because it makes me feel, it makes me know that where I needed to be, I need to be with Him.
Right. Well, it's like washing feet. When you are on your knees, you see the callous feet. You see the road that these feet have walked. You have a different perspective when you're looking up at something than when you're looking down at it.
Yes.
And that challenged me, because when we change our position, it can change our perspective of everything too. So these are all hard lessons that I don't know that we ever learn to come through easily. And to be thankful for them is also hard, because He says in everything give thanks. How can I give thanks for this situation? But I know that He does work everything out, but we just have to trust that, and that's the human flesh of us.
Yeah. And it is. I mean, it's hard to be, like you say, thanks, because you just don't see anything right now.
No.
But maybe down the road, I'm going to see something that's going to put me right back here and say, hey, this is what you went through. This is how. This has got me through this part, so that's probably helping me get through the next.
And there's refinement and this remolding and reshaping, and it's not easy to understand, but if he's going to, like you said, most of the time He's dragging me through. I'm not really walking through. He's like, I'm like, and I tell Him sometimes, look, I'm going to hang on to you. You're just going to have to, like the little kid that hangs onto their mama's foot and they drag him. That's how I feel, because I am not going to let go. And I may not get it, but
we have a girl at church that says that about she lost her child, and it was hard for her to come back and do, and pick up and do. But she said, the Lord, sometimes He had to drag her through the mud and drag her, but she's got back. And I guess that's what, sometimes He has to drag us through it, but
thank goodness He's dragging us.
He's dragging us, right?
I mean,
that's right, and that's what you got to look at. He is dragging us through it. So, but it's just like God brings the most growth in our lives through our hardest seasons.
Amen.
And I believe that.
Yes.
I believe that. And I read that somewhere, I don't know where. But anyway.
And everybody always is looking when there's the worst thing happening in your life. That's when the spotlight's on you. And it's our opportunity for people who may not be saved to say, I want what they have, because I couldn't get through that like they are. And so there again, I'm sure people saved and unsaved is watching, drawing from your strength that you don't realize that you have, that He's given you.
Yeah. I hope. I hope. I know. I feel like my baby sister, has got the strongest
and the most beautiful smile.
She does, no matter what, and she gets me through.
And that's something.
I mean, she's right there with me, and she's getting me through, because I see what she's doing. And said a while back, she says she chooses joy.
Yes. Had this same conversation today about joy, that what good is it going to do us not to choose joy? How's it going to make anything any better? And
it's not going to change.
No.
You can't change what happened. You can't go back to it. And I always said you shouldn't worry about things you can't change. And now I'm eating my own words.
We'll see. Yeah.
I'm eating my own, and you can't change it. Mm-mm. You can't go back and change it. We can't worry about it, because it's already gone and done. But we still have those feelings. And
I think the enemy this is where that we get in the trap, because the longer that we can sit and worry and wonder about what ifs and how could we, is the longer he has us spending more energy on the past instead of the present.
The future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The
present
right now.
Yeah.
The right now.
Yes.
Because we're really not even our future, because right now is what we got.
Mm-hmm.
This is it.
Yes.
This may be our last talk.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's right now is what we got to look forward to. We can't go back. We can't go forwards, because we just got right now.
That's right.
Just that last breath. It can be right now. I mean, yeah. And our pastor talks about it all the time. Snap his finger. That could be you.
Yeah.
I
saw somebody post a sign that said, everybody only has so many heartbeats. And when you think about that, that's like, how many heartbeats do I have to my name? And you think, we never know, and it makes you really try to appreciate every breath we take. Or I was telling somebody that just the ability to be able to read the Bible, and just being able to have that is so precious.
Yes.
I don't want take for granted the ability to be able to do that at this very moment.
Yes. And to do the things that we do here, pray and be able to pray out loud, pray wherever we're at. If we're in a restaurant, me and my husband could sit there and pray without somebody coming to pay.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do it, but you can. And
I'll tell you what's got me through a lot of struggles is, in the scripture in Ephesians that this is the only offensive weapon that he's given. But I found the other thing is praise. Praising him, worship through warfare, because what I find is that when I end up just focusing on praising God, the enemy is not going to stand around the presence of the praise for the Father, right? And so when I don't even feel like it sometimes, I love, especially if I can out loud, to let that fall off my lips, just to start praising him, because then I become focused on him and not myself. And I've learned that in the last 2 years, how praise is a really great weapon too.
That's good.
So next time you feel like just breaking,
start praising.
well, just start going. If I see you going down the road in the car and you're just
praising,
she's praising.
Praising him. That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see here. We'll get to strength. That's another word I had on my mind was strength. It means the quality or state of being physically strong. For a person, it means a captivity for exertion and endurance, whether physical or intellectual or moral. Strength of body and strength of mind. I guess they kind of balance each other out, maybe when your body's weak, your mind can, pick up and keep you going. Or maybe if your mind's weak, your body just keeps going. You see that a lot in different. If it's their mind, it's usually their body. Or if it's the body, it's usually their mind. Not the mind, but whatever. And it's just hard to see people struggling with Alzheimer's or struggling with the disabilities in their body.
Yes.
It is. It's very hard. I've had it in both families, and it's hard to watch. And but God gets us through these things, and I try to look at other people. I've seen so much here lately, even just with my struggling. Well, little child died, being sick. He died the other day. I believe it was yesterday or the day before. Didn't know the little child, but still I felt for that family.
Yeah.
That, to me, that woke me up a little bit.
Yeah.
That could have been my grandchild. Or,
Yeah.
What I'm saying, I can see other people struggling right now harder than I am right now, because I've been in that struggle a few months, in April.
Yes.
And I see myself coming this way. But now they're struggling, and they're struggling worse than I am, because they've lost, or they've sickness, cancer.
Yes.
Cancer's took over. David's uncle right now, he's fighting it. And, so I can see other things now myself that I couldn't see in April. I couldn't see nothing but us,
Right.
what we was doing.
Exactly.
Or what we was going through.
Yeah.
Until probably about 2 weeks ago. And then last week, after I talked to the pastor and stuff, it's helped me a lot. And because you think, you have nobody to talk to. Our whole family was going through this.
So how could you draw
So
strength
who
from
can you go and draw
yeah.
strength through? I couldn't draw it from my son, my husband, Robin, Sherry. I couldn't, because everybody was going through their own struggle with it, with the same thing, a different type
Yeah.
of struggle. So I finally thought, Lord, I'll give it to you. So I did that on Thursday, and then Friday I talked to the pastor. So I have made steps
Good.
to help. And so I can see, my eyes are getting woke up a little bit, because a lot of people are struggling right now with everything, sickness or death. So it's, I don't think anybody's past it. Nobody
No.
can get away from struggling, I don't
No.
think.
You said
But-
something that I've not really thought about a lot. You said that you think the mind and the body balance each other, and I was sitting here thinking, because they're none neither good without the other.
No.
It
They're
is.
not.
It is a true balance. It's
Yeah.
like if you lose one, it's like it can't compensate for the other.
Mhm.
But like you said, can keep you going in a sense.
Keep it going.
But it's so important in our mind and body. And keeping our mind on Jesus and those things can, because if we don't, then our body suffers from our ailments, from the worry and anxiety.
And then what do? You get weak. You get weak, both mind and body.
Yes.
So there you go. You know. And
that's good, Teresa. I didn't think about that before, but it's true.
Strength in the Bible, I found it meant God's power. Be strong in the Lord and His mighty power, not our own, because we're nothing without Him.
Yeah. And
it also means strong in faith, that God is there for us to guide us through. So there's two things. I mean, He's there for us. Psalms 73:26 said, "My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is my strength of my heart and my portion." See, so He's there, and I just got to learn to, not to learn, but to depend on Him. And like I said, like you said, you know, I've been on this road a long time, and I'm not going to turn back.
No,
you know,
I have no doubts.
I'm not going to turn back. I may get weak, I may get a little hindered along the way, but I'm not going to turn back. But I was reading, I'm going to tell you this, and then I'll quit talking.
It's been amazing.
But anyway, but I didn't think of it this way, but I read this the other day, and I got my sister to run it off for me. I was thinking about the butterfly, how strong it is, how strong and beautiful it is. It's so beautiful. And but that butterfly is locked in a cocoon first, you know. And so I read this about a little boy. Story of the butterfly struggle. It says there was a little boy who loved caterpillars. And one day he found one. He took it home and made a home for it. He gave it water and food. And then one day the caterpillar started creating a cocoon, and that he would go through. And how do you say that word?
Metamorphosis?
Yeah. And become a butterfly. So he was so excited that he couldn't wait to see it become a butterfly. So the little boy thought he would help it along a little bit. So he took a pair of scissors and he cut the cocoon, and because the butterfly was struggling so much, he didn't want to see it struggle. So he got a pair of scissors and snipped the cocoon and made a hole bigger for the butterfly to come out. Well, when the butterfly, and I didn't know this, but when the butterfly come out, he had a swollen body and small shriveled wings. And the boy sat and he watched, expecting any moment that they would dry and then they would start, you know. And but that didn't happen. The butterfly spent the rest of its life crawling around in a swollen body and shriveled wings. And it was never able to fly. And the reason is that, get ahead of myself here. The reason is, said in fact, the butterfly struggled to push its way through the tiny opening. That the reason it has to struggle is that it pushes itself through a tiny opening when the cocoon, that the fluid in its body and its wings pushes out. And without that struggle, that butterfly would never, ever fly. Well, I didn't know that. That was, and this is true. This is true story. I didn't know that. Did you?
No,
I mean,
didn't
really,
know that.
I didn't know that. I didn't know what I thought, but I just thought the cocoon, you know, they got to come out and it took off flying. But apparently, it's got to come through a little hole to push all that fluid.
Everything for a purpose.
Every for a purpose. So I thought that was very, very good thing. It says struggle is actually an important part of any growth experience. In fact, it is the struggle that creates you and gives you the ability to become the best version of you. And the strength and growth comes only through continuous efforts and struggles. And
you know, that's strange you brought that up, because I think it was 2 weeks ago, I was doing a talk, and one of the things was talking about childbirth. You know, you got to go and you get to that last point, and you say you have to push, and you've got to get to the struggle. But once that baby is born, all that pain, everything that you endured for 9 months, you just can't even think about it. Because when you're there, you're like, I am never having a kid again. But then the very
And
moment
then
you lay eyes on that child,
you forget all that.
you forget it, because if we remembered, we would not have
We
children.
would never have children.
But
That's true.
And the struggle is so real. And if we can understand that the struggle is going to produce strength, if we just trust Him. And sometimes, and I'm guilty, so I'm going to talk to myself, that I put myself on a pedestal because I'm so engrossed in how I feel and what I'm going through, instead of putting all my focus on God and instead of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's. But we're humans.
We're humans.
And we're emotional creatures. Mm-hmm. And I feel like women especially like to have control of situations.
Yeah.
And they don't like to be weak, because we're just this tough group of women that we can make this happen. And my dad always says, he wrote this in my Bible when I was 12 years old, we conquer by continuing. And I've lived by that, because if every step that I take forward, the enemy is not going to get the best of me, just to keep doing it. Well, Teresa, do you have more scripture?
Well, I've always fell back on this one because one of the teachers at WR gave it to me, and it's and we know all things work together for good to them that love God and to them who are called according to His purpose, and that's Romans 8:28. And I've always fell back on that, and I've read it so many times over almost everything I've ever went through as far as struggles and things. And I keep going back to that, so I hope that you know that I'll keep going back to it, and I will find peace. Maybe not, like I said, it will be a different type, but it'll. I'll just get there. I'll get there.
You will.
I will.
I have complete confidence in that.
It says, Proverbs 24:10, it says, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. So it's easy to be strong when there's nothing going wrong, just like I said. But then the true test of strength comes when facing a struggle. Fortunately, your strength is large because we have God with us, and even in the toughest of days. So
when we are weak, He is strong. I feel like at these times in life, it's like somebody literally punching the gut, knocking the breath out of you. It takes a moment to catch your breath again. Yeah. But you are going to catch your breath. Yeah. I know you are. Oh, yeah. And I appreciate you so much. And as we close out, I just want to say, is there anything at all, your thing was on struggle and strength, and because of the death of a young man that's dear to my heart as well. But people that might be dealing with circumstances such as what we've dealt with Tyler, or any other type of grief, is there just one piece of advice you'd want to give them? I know you're still in the struggle.
I'm still struggling,
but you were here and now you're here. But is there something that you would say to somebody who began the struggle? You're maybe in the middle of the portion of the struggle now.
I would hope that they would dig deeper into the Word to do that. And you need to find somebody, pastor, good friend that's very knowledgeable in the Bible, that can help you if you need to talk to somebody. If not, just keep digging deep in this Bible and hold on to God.
Amen.
And just hold on to His hand and don't let go. Because He'll drag you through that mud.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the only way we're going to get through.
Yeah.
Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. I just love you so much. And for those of you who don't know, I nicknamed her Meanness because she's ornery and I love her. And every time that I see her, I'm always encouraged. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
Ladies,
Phil.
thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And again, be with us for next week as we discuss another word of the week. Thank you.